Excuse me.
I'm trying to get a little closer to the table. I can sit like this. Is that the way you want to sit?
Yes.
Okay. You ready?
Waiting on you.
Hey guys, welcome to the video. We are sitting here at the kitchen table. We normally don't sit down and have a serious conversation together at the table, do we?
We don't. Sorry.
We may do a little bit more of this as time goes on. So this week you have been seeing some videos of Lisa's surgery, and as this video is coming, the scenes you just saw right before us talking is Lisa and I leaving the hospital. And I want to kind of give a heads up. It's been how many months? 7?
8.
8 months later.
8 months last Tuesday.
8 months later from the day that you saw us getting ready to leave the hospital. A lot of things have happened since then.
There's a lot less of me.
There is a lot less, at least. So we apologize first that you did not get to see much of the leaving of the hospital and the things that we went through, that Lisa went through as she was recovering from surgery, because, well, at that time of the year, it was July.
So, I can't remember how much backstory there is, and you can cut any of this out that you don't want. But, so initially I was supposed to have had this surgery I would be coming up on the 1 year, because I was supposed to have it the first week of April. It was going to be the day before Good Friday. I had all my blood work done. March 13th is when everything pretty much shut down. Was after March 13th, that Saturday. So that's when everything pretty much shut down. So the hospital was closed all of April to non-emergent surgeries. They only did critical surgeries, and this was considered elective. So that took us out all of April. And then we decided in May not to do the surgery because we were supposed to be going to Dollywood and Splash Country, which is their water park, with my brother and his family, my cousins and their families. And, the doctor said, you know what, let's just wait and do it when you get back. So we decided to do that.
That's when we took the twins to the mountains, wasn't it?
Yes. So my brother's family ended up not being able to go because of COVID restrictions in his work. And Dollywood was closed until the day after we left. They opened back up right after. I feel like it was just very shortly after we left. So we didn't get to do any of that. So I could have gone ahead and had the surgery, but I mentioned on the video I felt a lot of peace, and I really did during this time, is because everything kept getting canceled, and I kept thinking, well, the Lord has a plan, and it's going to happen like it's meant to. But we get back in June trying to schedule, and no, we were going to schedule it for June when I got back, and we hit a snag. The snag was that our insurance company had decided that this particular plan we had was no longer, after June 1st, was no longer going to cover this hospital and these doctors. So we had to wait. That was in May we found that out, I think. And so we ended up...
we did a video about that.
Yeah, and I can't remember all the time. I want to think it was July 1st is when it went into effect. So in June we had to up our insurance, but it didn't kick in until July 1st. And so then trying to get everything approved and everything scheduled, It ended up being July 23rd. School was scheduled to start, I want to think, on April 4th.
August.
Oh, August 4th. Yeah, April 4th next week. Sorry, guys. So school was scheduled to start on August 4th, which is kind of going away from what he was talking about. But, so this was still like the week before I was having surgery. They were like, okay, so, this is the plan. This is what we're planning on doing. But I have to tell you that, the hospital beds were basically over whatever their capacity was. So say they were keeping 25% for COVID patients, which I feel like it was more than that. But they had a certain percentage beds that they were trying to keep open for people who came in unexpectedly with COVID that needed to be hospitalized. Because this was still fairly early in the process. And so they were over that percentage. So we really weren't sure, but we just got to where we were able to go. So, but the numbers kind of spiked up again at the time that I went in. I had my blood work just right before, like I said, it was just all kind of fast. Like when it finally started coming back together, it was really, when we finally got all the approvals and got the dates, and we went back and forth about when to do it, and hugely stressful because knowing that was so close to school starting. But went in and did pre-op and asked them, can he stay the night with me? We wanted to be prepared for all those things. And so they said, yes, he can stay the night.
As you found out, though, in the previous
Do you tell them
clip.
about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I don't know did you tell them what was going on when we thought they were going to kick you out?
I told him that it was late at night, and that it was because you were there, but you weren't awake.
Well, I mean, I don't care if you tell them that. At this point, I had been out of surgery for, I'm going to think, like 8 to 10 hours. And try as hard as I may, I had been unable to pee. So, having to go through having a catheter to help me urinate, and at the same time, it's 11, 12 o'clock at night, telling my husband he's going to have to leave. So this was all very stressful during that time. And they were really having to be, like, they were having to wear a mask and all the
PPE.
Yeah, and but what what do you call it? The covering, the body covering.
The suits.
Yeah, but anyway, they were having to put all that on. They were having to wear masks and shields. They were sweating. So I know they were in a really bad place. But like one person was totally fine with it, and then somebody comes in to help her do my catheter, and they're like, "Oh, well, you have to leave." And of course, we were freaked out. It was late at night. I was supposed to go home the next day, so it was just a whole thing. And like I said, they're having this discussion while they're doing the catheter, which I know I've had it during surgery before, but being mortified by knowingly having it. And it was just so stressful that I had been trying to go to the bathroom since like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they had been telling me, if you don't go, we're going to have to do this. So, and once they did that, it was fine. I was able to go on my own, no problem. I guess it was still asleep from all of the numbing or whatever. But so yeah, that was a very stressful time. But we had made sure in the beginning, because we had heard people talk about nobody can stay with you in the hospital. So we went through all these steps just to kind of know what we were doing, because we do better knowing what we have ahead of us. So it was a very stressful, very hard time, and I really don't remember where we were going with that.
Well, we were talking about first, yes, they were going to try to kick me out at midnight and the stress that it took place. But then you were talking about the school.
Oh, yeah.
And starting back August 4th.
Yeah, so this was July 23rd, and we were tentatively going back to school August 4th. So at I want to think 4 or 5 days post surgery. We had one in service that I didn't go to. I was just like, I just can't. That was on Monday. I came home on Friday. But the next day was an in service that I felt like I had to be there for. And then one night that week was parent meeting, which I felt like I had to be there for. I mean, like, nobody was putting pressure on me to be there, but it was just like, this is the most important part of the school year starting. And I felt like I needed to be there for parents coming in because they had no idea what was going to happen and they needed to know what was being put into place. So, I went for the parent meeting, and I remember, I got ready. I went just a short time before it started. I did the parent meeting. I came home and just laid out on the couch because I was just, So it was a really hard week that I had some in-service and things like that. But we did, a couple of things happened that we lucked out with. One was that school didn't start until August 31st. And the other was that I ended up getting to be a virtual teacher. And so I guess that's why some of the things that went on that did. Like the gastroenterologist, he was kind of like, yeah, you can go back like 3 days later. Like if you have it done on Thursday, you can go back on Monday. The surgeon, the general surgeon who corrected the hernia, she was like at least 2 weeks. But I'm going to be honest with you, it took me, I'm going to say till fall break at least, like to where I felt pretty normal. And I really don't know that I felt fully recovered until, like sometimes I can still do things and I will feel a pull. But I feel like I'm fully recovered now, but I felt like it was almost 6 months out before I really felt like this whole area inside was recovered. It was a hard recovery.
So what did you go? What we know what the surgery was, of course. They've
Yeah.
been following that, and they know what the procedure was. But we talked a little bit about the diet that you were going to have to follow. How did that affect you after the surgery?
Yeah. So the diet was hard and not hard. It was hard. Me personally suffering with the acid reflux for as long as I did, like every little, like I was so sensitive to every little thing. And they have to, like the way that they fixed the hernia, they went into 5 different incisions in my abdomen and did that laparoscopically. But the way that they did the tip is he went down with the endoscopic tools and then fixed it that way. So, a lot went on, and they took my stomach and wrapped it around my esophagus. So, everything was very sensitive. So, it was like the first week or close to a week, I was on clear liquids. And a lot of that was just my nervousness, and like some of the things they gave me in the hospital to eat, I was like, well, I don't really know if that's, so, it was just weird, like one thing they gave me was like it was like a slushie, but it was like lemonade or something like that, and I was like, well, that's citric. So, it just really figuring some of the things out, what I could have and what I couldn't, and being oversensitive to things, and then really figuring out, so my diet changed every 2 weeks. But there were some times that I was like, I don't really think that I'm ready for that. Like I think it's when I first tried, maybe baby food was one of the things that I was like, oh, that, like it really bothered me. I had to go back down to, so like with any recovery, you really have to see where you're at, and just kind of gauge from that. But I know that I got so cranky because I would get tired of eating the same thing because the first week was clear liquids and then after that was full liquids. And then we slowly got to start doing some soft foods. But like when I say soft foods, sorry. I don't even know. We're not talking about mashed potatoes.
You couldn't do mashed potatoes.
It was like pureed stuff. It was like Carnation instant breakfast. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. So that
milk.
was, yeah. Yeah. So going through those processes, that was hard because by the end of the 2 weeks, I was so tired of what I had been eating nonstop. I could only eat a half cup at a time, and that included eating and drinking. So I couldn't have a whole lot. Yeah. But it was a big change and big shift. But and like I said, I would get tired of eating the same foods over and over, and I just wanted to try something else. And then that tasted so good, but then I would quickly get tired of those things too. So this went on for about 8 weeks, and so in addition to that, the diet was hard. The pain was hard. Like I was having chest spasms and pain in my throat and everything. I had a lot of pain in my abdomen and also itching, like I could just claw itching, like it was just, and I've since read from this group that I'm in about TIF procedure that I joined before, but that a lot of people have that. But I have super sensitive skin anyway, so I'm allergic to everything. And so, but it was super itchy, and everything hurt, and getting comfortable. I was super glad that we have one of those electric raise-up beds when we got home from the hospital, because the first week or so, the soreness eventually starts to wear down a little bit, but trying to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, poor Evan, it's like an eject button, because I'd start raising, because that was about the only way I could get in and out of bed. So he was a good sport about it.
She ejected me a few times.
Yeah.
Unknowingly. But then you had the 8 weeks of diet, but then add to that the as we know that when we don't eat what we would think to be a good diet, we get grumpy,
Hangry.
and we get hangry. And add to that school was starting, and it was something new that she was going to be doing this school year as the virtual teacher of kindergarten. So learning curve, figuring out how she's going to proceed with that, stressing over a lot of things. I will input that a lot of that is because of we didn't continue with the video recording, because we were stressed, we were wore out. I've said this before, my job is technology supervisor in the school district that we live in.
He's the SOT.
SOT. Do I not drink? No, but I have pulled my hair out a whole lot. So there has been a lot of stress, and that's why we didn't do a whole lot of the recording, because when we got home and we were tired, we were wore out.
Yeah, even though we didn't go back, we went back over a month after my surgery. It was a huge struggle. And something I had, even during in-service or whatever, or maybe it wasn't in-service, maybe it was when we first went back to school, was I was having trouble with, feeling like I was going to pass out. And a lot of that was, I went so long with just a half cup. And then when I went back to school, I wanted to get back in my regular routine, and I would get busy and not necessarily eat. And so I figured out I was really going to have to make myself stop and eat snacks and things like that. Sorry. So I've gone up to about a cup now, but I really do try to stay under a cup. I don't measure my food anymore. I haven't measured my food for quite some time. But I do try to really pay attention to when I'm full.
When you talk about a cup of food, if you grill, we grill a lot of chicken, and we eat a lot of chicken. That's our primary protein. Just because that's what we eat.
Well, because I suffered for so long with acid reflux, that was about the only thing I could eat.
Right.
And just trying to live a healthier lifestyle.
So we eat chicken, and when you grill the chicken, you bake the chicken, however you fix chicken, and then you shred it, a cup of chicken is a lot of food.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot. And so Lisa could eat a cup of food. So she split those serving cup, and so she would have a third cup of chicken, a third cup of vegetable, and a third cup of
Say rice. I don't know.
rice.
But things like that, I mean, like,
But then you couldn't have anything to drink.
yeah, you weren't supposed to drink with meals. I will say, like, so it was really hard. A lot of the foods that I had eaten because they were bland or whatever, prior, things that we were used to eating and fixing, I couldn't have for the 6 to 8 weeks because they were fibrous vegetables. They were gassy and things like that. Or like rice. We don't eat huge amounts of rice, but there are things that we eat rice with. So anything like that was going to bloat you up or blow you up, anything like that makes the pain worse. They already blow you up anyway, and that's a whole different kind of pain. If you've had anything where they do that, your shoulders hurt. And so, I mean, it was just a lot of things. Like, I told a lot of people, like, I'm kind of a baby anyway, but it was a really hard recovery. If you follow us on Facebook, I posted pretty regularly the first several months, letting people know how things were. And I tried to be super honest, because if someone's on the fence about it, thinking about it, like, it is 110% worth it. I don't regret having it at all. I feel lots better than I did. And I have lost about 45 pounds.
But you're keeping up. First, the weight loss was because of the diet.
The weight loss was because of the diet, because I was on a modified diet for 8 weeks. And then I kind of just tried to stick with it. But like when he released me, I wanted to eat like salads and things like that. So I really wanted to keep up the healthy lifestyle. So, but let's be honest, we went to the beach on fall break. Then there was Thanksgiving. And then we went to the mountains, and then there was Christmas. And and it's just kind of continued, and our eating has not been the best since then. But
And we just got back from North Carolina.
yeah, we just got back from North Carolina.
You guys will see that in the next.
It was actually a 5-state, 5-day trip.
You guys will see that in
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
And so anyway, honestly, we've just kind of gotten in a bad habit of, and like, sweet is my thing. Sweet and salty, like chips. But really sweets, like donuts and cakes and ice creams and cookies and all this. Like, that's my weakness. Oh, that's what it was. So, Girl Scouts sold their cookies. The softball team did nothing but cakes. If you've ever had those bundt cakes, they're delicious. And then they did donuts. So, all the fundraisers, and that's how I try to give back to my customers who buy from my side hustles, is when their kids have fundraisers, I buy from them. So, anyway, I really personally, this is probably getting way off from what he wants to, I really want to try to get back into a healthier lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle. It is a habit. It takes 21 days to make something a habit. So I need to do better about just saying no to sugar and carbs.
Well, we can work on that. I could stand to go on a diet too, but continuing the mental thinking is what I was saying. Is your portion sizes really haven't changed, even though you've been released, because of the esophagus and the work that was done. The doctor says do whatever, go back. But she has been taking her time to eat the food, chew it properly, and that takes longer. And then your mind says, oh, I'm full faster.
Yeah.
And so that does help.
And when I overeat, I can tell, and like, I feel bad. Like, I feel horrible if I overeat. So I really try to pay attention to those signs. We had, last week, we had salmon and asparagus and roasted potatoes, and it was so good. But like I ate too much and I knew it. That's my water.
I needed a sip.
So I will be honest, I started having what were possible reflux symptoms. Now, I didn't really think it was reflux because I wasn't having actual regurgitation. I think I did one time have actual regurgitation, but for the most part, I wasn't having actual regurgitation. It was just like some burning and hurting in my esophagus. And I hemmed and hawed around, and I finally called his office, thinking that his nurse was going to be like, "You're totally fine. This is part of it." But then the one that I talked to, she was like, "Oh, well, that kind of sounds like it. We need to get you back in." So, I was supposed to go see him, and the snow hit, I think. No, I did get to go see him, and so that's another experience, too. But both the final checkup time and then this time when I was like, okay, I want to make sure that everything is normal and everything looks good. Evan went with me, and they have this enormous waiting room, and get in there, and so... For the first checkup visit, they're like...
So we went, let me just start this with the fact that we went to the hospital even before your surgery, and it still continued even after the surgery, and then when we were going for the checkup, they stop you at every entrance and every hallway and check your temperature and make sure you've got your mask on and all of that good stuff and question you, are you feeling... the COVID symptoms and things like that. And of course we have not, knock on wood, but we were stopped every so often. Then we get to the hall where Lisa was going to go to the doctor's office, not the surgery, but the office itself. And you walk in and there is, of course that office has how many doctors in it?
Oh my word,
several doctors
yeah.
in that office area of the hospital, and you open the doors and you go up to the counter and say, "I'm here, I want to sign in," and they've got a huge waiting room, and nobody's sitting in there.
Sorry, I was laughing. So totally unrelated, just in case he can't cut me out. We have a dog bed in the kitchen for Tyson now since he went through his whole thing.
Yeah, we haven't shared any of that.
Okay. And so I put a new blanket on his kitchen bed, and so he was over there.
He was trying to figure it out.
Get it off and moved around, so it tickles me. Sorry. So yeah, this doctor's office is huge, and so we go in, and I think maybe you had to go to the bathroom or something. He says behind me, the woman says, "Can I help you, sir?" And he said, "Well, I'm with her." And she said, "Well, you got to go."
She kicked me out.
She said, "There's plenty of seating out there in the hallway."
Yeah, so she says there's a lot of seating out in the hallway, but we just come through that area. And she said that there's no one allowed in the waiting room except patients. And okay, I get it. No question, no problems with that. I get it. But she said that there was a lot of seats out in the hallway for anybody to sit there and wait in the hallway. So I'm thinking I'll go out into the hallway with all the people that were not in the waiting room because they didn't want them in the waiting room, but go out and sit in the hallway of the hospital with those people. I get out into the hallway and there's 3 chairs available. 3 chairs total in the hallway. Just 3. And all of them were taken. All 3 of them. All of the chairs that they had out in the hallway, all 3 of them were taken.
Well, and let me say, like, for some people, their husbands never go to the doctor with them. Like, he's super involved. Like, when I would go to the neurologist about my migraines all the time, he went to every appointment. And he was able to tell things that, I forgot from when I was having, in the middle of a migraine, things that he picked up and noticed. So, I mean, I think I had more anxiety than he did about him not being in there just because, I'm sure there were things that he noticed when I was sick. And I get in there with the doctor or whatever, and I get nervous. And so, I forget to talk about things, and I don't write them down like I say I'm going to, and but that was kind of funny. But when we went, so fast forward to me saying, I'm having a lot of hurting, and I'm just super nervous, and so we decided to go on back. So he went with me. And we thought, well, they've really kind of relaxed on letting people in and things like that. So he goes with me. And again, for whatever reason he wasn't, I think maybe I went on up.
I parked the car.
Yeah, because it was. He worked that morning, so we were running a little late and trying to remember where the doctor's office was because we hadn't been there in so long, and the way the Google Maps takes you is different. And so anyway, he comes in and she said same thing, and so she tells him there aren't chairs in the hallway this time. She tells him he has to go back down to the first floor and wait on me.
So I had to go back out into the hallway, back down the elevator, and I found one chair. I should have just went back to the car.
Yeah. So,
while in that area, sitting in that one chair in the hallway at the main floor of the main entrance of this one building, there's not an information desk. So guess who got asked every time they come in to the building? Do you know what floor so-and-so doctor's on?
But let's be honest. I mean, I don't know what he does when he's by himself. Well, I mean, he does it with me too. But, people ask him questions, and he talks to them.
I'm a talker to people.
So, I mean, it's like one time we're at the mall, and my mom and I turn around to look at something, and next thing we know, I mean, he's in the shoe department talking to people. And so, anyway, but the doctor says, I feel really good. I think everything looks good. I think it's fine. He said, you've not gained your weight back. He said, the only 2 times I've had this problem is someone who didn't follow the diet, which you obviously did, and someone who gained a bunch of weight back, which you've not done. He said, so I feel good about it, but let's do a barium swallow test because you don't have to be put to sleep. They also call it an esophagram. He said, you don't have to be put to sleep. You don't have to have the scope. Let's start there. So, but trying to find Evan after the fact was an adventure. I was like, I'll just come to you. And he said, no, let me come to you. By the time he found me, I could have already come back to where he was, but I digress.
Hospitals are big. And as you saw in... I don't remember what day the video will be posted, but I was sitting in the waiting room. My dad was at that hospital for a long time, and so I got used to where things are, except they would move departments. But I know pretty much the wings of everything.
Well, and they totally renovated the food court.
Yeah.
So they had all that blocked off. They did that during the COVID quarantining and all that. So, that worked out well. But, so, I did finally find him. But, so, got my test scheduled. I had to reschedule it 3 times because of the ice and snow. I was supposed to go during that. And
got a lot of ice and snow this time.
Well, what made it a little more interesting is as a kindergarten teacher, the day of that we first got out for ice and snow was supposed to be the 100th day of school. And then because I was virtual and my kids weren't getting to do a Valentine's party like the other classes, I wanted to do the 101st day of school. And so whatever day we went back was going to be the 100th day. And then the next day was going to be the 101st day. And so I was like, well, I can't, I can't miss those days. And with traveling and not knowing what, we had the ice and then we had the snow, and we had the second round coming in. So we rescheduled it 3 different times until I finally got to have it. And the radiologist told me that, he said everything went well, everything looked good, no concerns about swallowing or, he said everything looked like it would. With this TIF procedure, no sign that the hernia had popped back out, Everything was swallowing well. So I got a good report with that. And so I guess I should say what this is. They have this x-ray machine that you stand between. And you have to drink this chalky like substance. So with the surgery, I had more digestion problems than normal. And so once Evan had to go get me milk of magnesia that I could not drink because it was gagging me. I have a super strong gag reflex. So, this first thing was kind of like that, but I mean, I didn't throw it up, or it didn't like do my gag reflex, but it was a super chalky kind of thing, so that was not pleasant. But he'll tell you to fill your mouth up, and then you're trying to hold it in your mouth until he tells you to swallow. And then he watches it on x-ray. Well, then he says, okay, lay back against here. Well, and like he was telling me, the radiologist was telling me, but it wasn't processing. He was so basically this was a table standing up that he was gonna lay back. So he did that, and then I kind of had to lay on my stomach, but on my side, but raise up. You know, all the things they tell you not to do, don't eat and drink laying down. So, but I had to do that and then drink this other thing. It wasn't tropical fruity, but it had a little touch of that. Where you could, but it was a little smoother. So I did that, but I mean, it really wasn't bad. It didn't take that long. The worst part was being hungry, and because I couldn't eat or drink.
Yeah, you had to kind of fast for the time.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of where we're at. Like, I mean, the doctor is happy with my BMI. He's happy with where my weight is. He says eat whatever I want. And he really basically said strengthen that up. You know, I just think that's part of the healing process. But unfortunately, part of the healing process, the way it feels is much like you feel before you have it done. Because before I had it done, I had the sore throat all the time and everything. And so, and the burning, and so it's really hard to tell, and just me being nervous about it. I feel like it's getting better. Like I have some burning right now, but I had raw red onions twice today. So I'm hoping that's all it is.
So we talked about the procedure a little bit previously. We've talked about the diet that you've had to go through. We've talked about kind of the last 8 months from recovery to now. Tyson is snoring on the other side.
He sounds like his dad.
So we've talked about because you had that problem, thought you were having something wrong. And this is an interesting thing, that the doctor told you that people think that they have food stuck in the back of the throat.
Okay, so yeah,
it's way down here actually.
Yeah,
that's neat.
Kind of stand up so I can kind of show you guys, which I'm gonna mess up his screen now. I guess.
It's okay.
But when I went back for my checkup, because that was some of the things I had during recovery when I started being able to eat a little more or take a little more medicine, a little bigger, because for the first part of that, I couldn't have anything bigger than a peanut for a long time. And so that was a problem I had with medicines and things like that. And I was so excited for macaroni and cheese. But the first time I ate it, like, it got stuck, and I kept thinking I was choking. And then, of course, then you're making all these motions to try to get it up, which you're not supposed to strain or any of those things. And so that makes you even more nervous. But, so we were talking about that, and he said, people think they get things stuck in their throat. In actuality, it's stuck down here where your stomach, where your esophagus goes into your stomach. And so that's actually where it's stuck, but you feel it all the way up here. So, yeah, I mean, that was super interesting. You know, just the things that I've found out since then.
So
Bless it.
he's on the other side of the camera, laying on the floor. You want to?
Excuse me. He's giving me orders.
Well, just so you get back down on the camera. So that was interesting. But then you had to go back because you weren't feeling, you were having these symptoms you thought you were having, and he was not concerned. So
Not really. I mean, he wanted to check just to be sure, but
Right.
he felt pretty positive that it was.
okay. So if you said a few minutes ago that if people were on the fence of whether they should have it or not, it's worth,
Oh yeah, definitely.
as far as any surgeries and procedures are concerned, there's always things you have to go through. The surgery part of it, the healing process, and then the changes, adjustments to diets and living. So how would you think you are now?
Oh, I mean, I'm a lover. I mean, like I still like right now. I still have a little bit of a burning sensation in my throat. But if I eat anything, like eat too much or anything too big, or sometimes things still bother it. But
Are you
like
still,
I feel like that's improving.
are you still having some of the symptoms that we found out because of the hernia, which was pushing on the diaphragm and broke the diaphragm? We discussed that in previous videos. Was actually putting pressure on your chest and made hard for breathing at times.
Yeah, I don't notice that
And then
as
the
much.
heart part shuts. What was it? It
The
was
heart palpitations
Yeah.
and sometimes I still get some of that kind of stuff, but I mean, in all fairness, I also suffer from anxiety, so and I'm not really sure because we had a period of time, a couple of years prior to my surgery, that it got really, really bad, and so I didn't realize it, but that's known to do that, is to make anxiety worse and to make allergies and sinuses worse, and to cause this trouble with breathing. And of course, being overweight did not help the breathing any. But yeah, I mean, just walking across the room, like I felt I was out of breath all the time, and so, I mean, I really do. I mean, I have good and bad days, of course, but I do feel like the anxiety's better. I do feel like the breathing's better, but I'm not in shape. Because I really did just baby myself. And when I started trying to work back out again, was kind of when my headaches flared up again. And so that kind of, that's something I really want to get back into, is nothing too strenuous. I really like the bar exercise that I was doing. It's
Beachbody.
Yeah, it's almost April, so we have about another 8 weeks before our pool will hopefully be usable. It's not really warm enough for me until the end of May. Like, he can kind of do it a little earlier, but I can't do it. So that's a good source of exercise. So I'm looking forward to that. Unfortunately, we don't get out of school until the middle of June, but But, so I do want to get in better shape. I want to eat better, take better care of myself. I do want to lose some weight, but I want to kind of tone up some areas that were overweight before. I mean, I want to feel better.
I think you look great.
Thanks, babe. You said that before when I was 50 pounds overweight, too.
I think you look great all the time.
He always says that. So.
I think you're beautiful to me.
You always say that.
I do, because it's true. Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So,
I love you.
I do love you. So we're going to end this video.
It's my bedtime.
It is a long video. But we wanted to give you guys an update. If you would like to have more information, contact us. We've got our Facebook, our Instagram. If you have any comments, if you're looking for support, Lisa can definitely be a good support for going through that process. She said she's in a group, and we may post this video to that group and just say, hey guys, if you want to
Yeah.
reach out to anybody, definitely we'll be there to help people go through it.
And so before we end though, let me ask you, because he really did not want me to, like, he was not impressed. Like when I walked into the doctor's office and I saw this pamphlet, so I had already read about it before the doctor got in there, and I was super excited. And the doctor came in, he's like, I think you're a great candidate. You were not excited at all. Like, I mean, he really didn't want me to do it.
No, I didn't. It scared me. Scared me first that Lisa would have to have a basically cut the esophagus from the stomach and redo, and I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous for her. Like you said, you had read a lot about it where I hadn't yet, and I'm not going to go and read. I'm not going to Google health issues. I did that. I did that with Dad, and it scared me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that. So listening to the doctor, he was like, "Oh, it's no big deal." But then he was talking about putting this little ring of magnets and something. I didn't really. I was like, I don't know. But I'm glad that she's had it. She does feel, to me, she seems a lot more healthy in herself, and she's able to enjoy things more. We've talked about her migraines and dealing with them, and that's something that we'll continue to have to deal with. But this part of it,
Yeah, I mean, and I really do feel like they've gotten better from where they were previously. So, I mean, I think this probably contributed to some of that too. But I mean, I'm going to have some no matter what, just because of what some of my triggers are. So, like today, sunny day, a lot of people were talking about being out and enjoying it. Like me, just walking out to the trash can, kind of, like if I'd been out, it would have given me a headache because it was a strong wind. We've had storms the last few days, and it was like a strong cold wind. Mm-hmm. It was sunshiny and warm temperatures, but the wind was strong and cold, and like that gives me a headache right away. So there are things like that we can't control.
And we'll have another sit down, I think, and do this type of with the migraines. Actually, I kind of like doing this.
Yeah, so I know too.
We may do this more often. But for tonight, and so that we can feel better about the series of videos that you have just watched about Lisa's procedure, then we can close it.
Yeah.
And but feel free to reach out to us.
So, and there is a before picture of the before picture is not before the surgery. You can obviously, I hope, tell the difference before the surgery and now. But the day we came home from the hospital, because, like, this was super hard on my mom. I know I said we were going to stop talking, but it was hard on my mom because she couldn't be there. You can only have one person there with you. And so Evan was great to communicate with my mom, my family, my friends, but I know it was super hard on her not being there. I
was, as you saw in the second video this week, I was texting. So
but he took a picture right before we left, and I told him, I said, you can share that. So if he does, I'm sure he'll take an after photo also, so that you can tell the difference in the abdomen and the scars. But yeah, I had 5 incision sites that itched a lot and hurt.
The before, now, so after surgery, but before now.
Well, let me say too, because I think you told me this. that because I'm gonna stand up again for just a minute. So right here, the incisions here hurt the worst, but I think you told me that the doctor told you that she had to go in.
Yeah, between the ribs.
Yeah, between my ribs to get to it, and
Yeah.
so
So the problem. We keep saying we're going to end the video, but the problem is Lisa had two things going on. She had the valve not working, and she had the hernia.
hernia,
Is that how you say that?
hiatal hernia.
I always say it wrong.
It's okay.
Hyena. And so the two different procedures had to be done at the same time. I don't know if that's normal for a TIF procedure.
Well, I mean, it is fairly normal because a lot of people that have this issue do also have a hernia. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And so, I mean, from what I've read, it is pretty common to have it. But, I mean, different people do different things. And that's like people talking about their diets in this group. They'll talk about doing something on day 5 that I didn't do until week 5. So, I mean, I really think that makes a difference too. And so I'm really glad that, and his office gave me a diet, but then after surgery, he gave me a pamphlet. So I had kind of his recommendations, but then also kind of a universal recommendation list. And so, you know, I mean, we poured over it and we went back and forth through it. And yeah, and trying to figure out what to try and what not to try. And it was very interesting to say the least. Yeah. But, and I will say, I mean, I'm pretty sure she's never going to see it, but the general surgeon, you know, I met her before she did the surgery, you know, and I was kind of nervous. I was like, well, I think she really knows her stuff, but, and, you know, some doctors aren't super personable, but let me tell you, the day of surgery, she came into the room and just really put her, you know, just really trying to calm us, and she wanted to pray with us, and so that really just gave me a better peace of mind, you know, just having that second encounter with her, you know, and because we all have bad days and we all get busy at work, so I know I'm guilty of it too. So I was glad that I had that second experience with her, because I actually didn't go back to see, I've not seen her since. My medical doctor did the follow-up visit, so I was really glad I had that, just those few minutes with her. But yeah, I mean, she did her part, and then when she got done,
I talked to her on the phone right before the surgery and right after.
Yeah.
And that was the last time that I've talked to her.
Yeah, so, but, I mean, I highly recommend both of my doctors. They, you know, and the gastroenterologist, obviously, we've had more interactions with him, but, I mean, he will talk to you all day long and explain things, and not all doctors have a sense of humor, but he does, and so I feel like I can kind of be my weird, quirky, joking, making fun of myself person. Like, he gets those things.
Okay, so we wanted to give you an update, and we hope you guys have a good night.
You're not going to put all this in there, are you?
We're going to see you on the next video. Have a good night, guys.
You're not going to put all this in there, right? It's a lot.
Yeah. We got 30 seconds. That's why I was trying to wrap it up on the
Good night.
Good night.